Hi there, welcome to What's Happening in Brazil. Let's start with the latest news from the country.
On August 2, the Superior Electoral Court opened an administrative inquiry to investigate President Jair Bolsonaro's threats to the 2022 elections. The Electoral Court also referred to the Supreme Federal Court a criminal complaint against Bolsonaro. On his social networks and in meetings with backers, Bolsonaro constantly attacks the Brazilian electoral system. He has been affirming that the 2018 elections were rigged because of the electronic urns. Besides, he says that if it had not been for the fraud, he would have been elected in the first turn. Bolsonaro advocates printed ballots, although there is no concrete evidence that the electronic voting system can be rigged. Bolsonaro's speeches against electronic voting are not new. He had already been vocal against the electronic urns and in favor of printed ballots during the 2018 elections. Surveys show Bolsonaro is behind his main political opponent, former President Lula. A bill approved by the Chamber of Deputies on August 3 may worsen environmental problems in Brazil. The legislative proposal extends the size of properties on public lands that can be regularized without the requirement of inspection by the competent bodies. For critics, the bill regulates the undue occupation of public land and facilitates deforestation. The measure serves to the interests of parliamentarians linked to agribusiness and was strongly condemned by environmental defense organizations such as Greenpeace. In a statement, the NGO said that instead of preventing and combating environmental crimes and schemes organized by public land thieves, the chamber legalizes what is illegal. The bill still has to be approved by the Senate.
In January 2019, the collapse of a dam owned by the Vale mining company caused the death of 272 people in the city of Brumadinho in the state of Minas Gerais. Many of those who died were Vale's employees. In June of this year, the labor court condemned Vale to pay 1 million reais for each worker who died, but the mining company appealed the decision.
After Vale's appeal to reverse the indemnity payment to the families of workers killed in its 2019 environmental crime, the Federal University of Minas Gerais released a technical note on the case. The document contests the arguments and actions of the mining company.
We wrote in the technical note that the company made a deliberate choice to increase the efficiency of mineral extraction to the detriment of the well-being and life of its employees.
The study argues that death damage should be applied in this case, although this type of indemnity is not explicit in the Brazilian Criminal Code.
What is death damage? These are the moral damages that the companies owes to the fatal victims. Minutes before the collapse of the dam, this dead man was alive. He was a living person who saw the muds rush over his body. He saw the imminent death.
According to the Metabase Union, plaintiff of the action received by the labor court, the lack of legal precedents favors the company. The labor reform, which entered into force in 2017, also hampers the possibility of an indemnity.
This one is a new decision on which the labor court does not have other decisions to base its views. We pay too low amounts of compensation in the labor court. The situation was aggravated by the labor reform, which seeks to establish a ceiling for these indemnities, something unconstitutional from our point of view and from the Constitution's point of view.
The union made a new appeal to seek the review of the indemnity amounts in addition to the application of law. For the university researchers, it is the judiciary's role to change the way companies as Vale operates in order to prevent new tragedies from happening.
We currently have 47 critical level dams in Brazil. 28 of these dams are Vale's direct responsibility. So the question is, when will the next tragedy be?
Now we are going to talk about an Afro-Brazilian tradition, jongo. It is marked by batuque, by people dancing in circles, and has the presence of very special women.
The strength of the drums, of the dance, and women. Jongo is a typical Afro-Brazilian tradition from the southeast region, and in Jongo circles there are many stories of strong women, true matriarchs. So is Jongo da Serrinha, a traditional group from Rio de Janeiro with more than 60 years of history. It was born with Grandma Maria Joana, a prominent woman in the community. She's a folk healer, mãe de santo, midwife, seamstress, mother of 14 children, and jongueira, the name to jongo player dancer.
My grandmother was such a wonderful person, so kind, so charitable. If you came to my house and said you had nowhere to live, you would live in my house for 5, 6, 7 years, as long as you needed. She was this kind of person. She liked to do charity.
She decided not to wait for people to come and see Jongo. No, Grandma Maria Joana went with Jongo everywhere, to the streets, to schools, to other terreiros, to stages, to squares, even churches.
In Campinas, inner São Paulo state, the Jongo group Dito Ribeiro also has women in its leadership. But it was not always so.
What my uncles used to say is that the jongo that my grandfather made had no woman, only men. So the process of including women and children in the jongo circles was an achievement. But time is king, and many jongo communities today are led by women.
Nowadays, we already see many women in cultural events with their hands on the drum, which did not happen traditionally in religion. It was always a male figure, because spiritually, in Umbanda, in Candomblé, it is always the man who plays the drum.
And now it's time for Brazilianism.
Today's recipe is this cake, a variation of the carrot cake but made with pumpkin. Are you going to make a cake? Did you start to take the ingredients? Turn on the oven. The preheated oven is the secret to make the cake grow. In confectionery recipes, it is very important to sift dry ingredients. This ensures that cakes and dough are always soft and without lumps. In a blender, beat the eggs with the pumpkin, oil and a pinch of salt until all this is creamy and homogeneous. In a bowl, place the sugar and over it, pour this mixture. Mix it well until it forms a very homogeneous cream again. It's wheat flour time. Put the wheat flour, mix well and beat the dough well. I beat the dough well. It already has blisters. As we keep on mixing it, we see the bubbles. It means it's well beaten. So now I'm going to add the yeast and I'll mix it. Now I'll put the dough on the baking sheet that I've already greased and floured. It is important to flour the baking sheet so that the cake does not stick. To put the cake in the oven, which is very hot. First, I'll put it on high power for 20 minutes for the cake to rise. Then I'll lower the temperature and let it cook for another 20 minutes. Let's take a look if the cake is ready. It's clean, so the cake is baked.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We will see you next week.